Now we're going to talk about our prose selections for this unit, which were Where Are You Going, Where Have You Been, and Good Country People. These stories are allegories, which means they function on a symbolic level underneath their literal level, with a series of symbols that interact to create a second level of meaning. Now, most of the short stories that we look at, and even in most of the novels that we look at, we treat as allegories and look at their secondary symbolic subtexts more than their literal texts. But it's really only shorter texts, short plays, short stories that get that title of allegory. Where Are You Going, Where Have You Been is an allegory for the feminist movement, and it was written during the late 60s, early 70s. Connie, who is a symbol of the feminist movement by being young, striving for independence, possibly being a little more sexually mature than you might think, and certainly seeking to free herself from the shackles of the generation before her, encounters Arnold Friend, whose name could be an old friend or an old fiend or both at the same time. Arnold Friend wants for Connie to do as he says, and there's a lot of things that are off about Arnold Friend. For one thing, there seem to be a lot of flies associated with him. He also seems to have some strange otherworldly powers, as though he can look across the town and see what is going on. He knows Connie's name and knows all about her, or at least so he says, even though he shouldn't. He's a total stranger to her. And most interestingly, at one point, it is made very apparent that there is something wrong with his boots, as though his legs or his feet did not fully fill those boots out. And they don't fill them out. You know why? Because they're hooves. Arnold Friend is Satan. He isn't a symbol of Satan. He is the devil. So there's a little to unpack here. If Arnold Friend is Satan, then what does he symbolize within the story? Well, he symbolizes the devil to the feminist movement, which is a return to the patriarchy, a return to the idea that men control women and tell them what to do and where to go. And this is never so painfully as obvious as when he uses as his final point of leverage the idea of the threat that Connie is leaving open to her family if she doesn't go with him. And this is exactly what the patriarchy of the 1960s and 1970s would tell those would-be liberated women, that they are going to endanger the American fabric of life by destroying the American family. Because, you know, all of you guys with working moms, your families are totally dysfunctional and wouldn't have been if mom stayed at home making pies all day, right? Another scary element is when Arnold Friend references the old woman, and Connie says, "Oh, but she's dead." And Arnold Friend suggests, "But don't you like her?" He's not referring to an old woman. He is referring to the old form of women, the form before Connie, and asking why Connie doesn't like her. Most disturbingly, though, is that Connie ends up going with Arnold Friend at the end of the story, that the threat of the family worked. Our other allegory is Good Country People, which features the sort of peculiar main character of Joy/Hulga. Joy Hulga is a 32-year-old philosophy student who still lives at home and generally gets her kicks by making her mother miserable. At one point, she meets Manly Pointer, a Bible salesman, who she then decides she will corrupt with her charming and wily ways, though we have no idea why she thinks she can do that, and takes him up to a barn to seduce him, at which point she is the one seduced into taking off her fake leg, which Manly Pointer runs off with. Just as Joy Hulga's face is left churning as she reaches an epiphany, we are left with the notion that Joy Hulga's superiority has been false. She is no better than the good country people around her. She has a symbolic wooden leg which sets her apart, and this wooden leg is a symbol of her great education. Yet, at the same time as being something that makes her different, it doesn't actually make her better. It doesn't work better than a normal leg would work. Remember, this is Flannery O'Connor, so we're looking for strange Jesus figures, and we've got a guy who, albeit carries with him, you know, several accoutrements of the less than savorable young man, is spreading the word of God and brings Joy Hulga to a state of epiphany. Manly Pointer is our Jesus in this story. That should just about prep you for the quiz.
Any question?